In this video, we're going to talk about top 10 origin stories of Disney films. So before starting this video, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for the future updates. Boy oh boy, just wait until you get a load of these horrific fairy tale stories. You thought that The Lion King and The Hunchback of Notre Dame were super sad and grim Disney movies. Well, then you are in for a vicious surprise. The origin stories for these Disney films will have you reaching for a box of tissues, as well as picking up the phone to schedule a therapy appointment. Here's a list of top 10 origin stories of Disney films. Let's start. Number 10. Bambi. In the original story, Bambi was shot savagely and had to walk around in circles with blood oozing out of him. This was to create a marking on the ground in order to confuse any other hunters or hunting dogs that tried to come after him. That's pretty darn gruesome if you ask us, and we're glad that it didn't make it into the theatrical Disney version of Bambi. As if that weren't enough, the hunter who shot Bambi is also killed in the original story, in a strange twist of events to get the message to viewers that man is also vulnerable, just like animals are. Number 9. Aladdin. In the original movie, Ollie learns the secret words to the treasure, but when his brother finds out, he rushes to get there before Ollie. There is revenge, though. Ollie's brother forgets the magic words to get out of the cave, so the guards find him and kill him. They also dismember him and places pieces of his body outside the cave to stave off wood thieves. Ollie takes his brother's remains, gives them to a slave girl in the hopes that she'll make his bro's death look natural, but she ends up getting the body sewn together instead. Number 8. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. In the long ago version, Goldilocks was an old lady, but she was pretty spunky. Unfortunately, this Goldilocks does not escape the three bears. She tries to jump out of the window of the house and ends up breaking her neck and dying. Why couldn't the story have been something like, Goldilocks knits a nice blanket for the bears and cooks them a hearty meal? We don't know what's stranger about their story. The fact that bears are noshing on porridge of all things, or that they sleep in wooden beds. Sure, it's a fairy tale, but porridge? Really? It could have at least been porks too. Number 7. Little Red Riding Hood. This is seriously scary. It isn't a wolf in the original version, but an ogre, and he doesn't just swallow the grandmother whole, he full-on demolishes her. This isn't Shrek we're talking about. This is a full-fledged, scary-as-hell ogre who, after eating the poor old lady, feeds Little Red Riding Hood bits and pieces of her grandmother's flesh and bones, and then uses the grandma's long intestines as a piece of rope. What the heck? This version of the story is like if a nightmarish version of Shrek was combined with all the gruesome scenes in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Number 6. Tangled. The original Rapunzel story featured the princess being kidnapped and locked away in a tower. It was all a vengeful act because Rapunzel's dad was a lying, cheating thief. While in the tower, Rapunzel is essentially raped and then her hair is cut off. When the prince comes to try and save her, but she is nowhere to be found. So he gets angry and jumps from the top of the tower. For some reason, he doesn't die, but he ends up getting his eyes gouged out by the thorns that he fell in. Number 5. Sleeping Beauty. More like Sleeping Victim. In the original story, it wasn't a prince who tried to wake Aurora from her slumber. It was a married king. And he didn't kiss her awake, he basically assaulted her. So Aurora is essentially a rape victim, and her baby is a bastard child. What the heck, man? The Grimm brothers were of course fond of this story, but the earliest known version of it wasn't theirs. It was the Perse Forest, created around 1330 and first put into writing in 1528. In folklore, the story of Sleeping Beauty is said to symbolize the changing of the lunar year to the solar year, or just an allegory of nature. Number 4. The Little Mermaid forget about losing her voice forever. In the original story, Ariel was going to full-out die if she didn't have Prince Eric fall in love with her. However, the prince is in love with some other human girl, so Ursula tells Ariel to kill Eric, because well, she's pissed off. Well, of course Ariel can't do that, so she just kills herself instead by throwing herself into the sea as a human. By the way, while human, Ursula made sure that every step Ariel took felt like walking on shards of glass. Dang, this is like the Little Mermaid in hell. There is actually a lot of talk on what the true ending of the story is or should be. Number 3. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Sure, this film was already a bit of a departure and risk for Disney, but the original version is a whole other story. It Turns out that when Frollo turns his back on Esmeralda, the gypsy ends up being hanged. Seeking revenge, Quasimodo pushes Frollo off of the roof of a building, where he plummets to his demise. After that, Quasimodo is so distraught that he vows never to leave Esmeralda's gravesite, so he ends up rotting there and dying by starvation. Number 2. Snow White. In the original story by the Grimm brothers, the evil witch tries to kill Snow White much more violently before she tries the old poisonous apple trick. Snow White is technically kidnapped by the prince while she is still unconscious in her coffin. What a whack way to end a story, although we are happy to see the evil witch suffer tremendously after trying 3 times to kill Snow White. The latest iteration of this story comes in the modern form of Snow White and the Huntsman, and stars Kristen Stewart as Snow White. Not to be rude, but Kristen isn't exactly delicate princess material. We suppose it doesn't matter, since the Huntsman trained Snow White to be a badass female warrior. What a turn of events! Number 1. Cinderella. This story was seriously messed up. The evil stepsisters were even more evil in the Grimm brothers version. In a fruitless attempt to fit their feet into the glass slipper, one sister chops off her heel, while the other chops off her toes. Yeah, it doesn't work. Not only that, but they stop Cinderella from marrying the prince. But crows end up gouging the evil stepsister's eyes out. Vileness continues. Cinderella was made into a 2015 live-action film, but received a lot of flack for showcasing a promotional poster in which Cinderella's waist was impossibly tiny. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.